This is a little cartoon that I found talking about the data fields, kind of reference to the California gold rush in the United States when everyone rushed across the country west to find gold. Social media is sort of like that. It generates unknown amounts of information, and there are all sorts of companies that have popped up that are mining this information. Data miners specifically is what they're called. Social media has overtaken pornography as the #1 online activity, and Facebook and Twitter are the two most prominent actors in that field. Here in the United States, it's about 50% of everyone in the United States has a Facebook account. The UK is right behind us at 49%, but the UK is actually doing a little bit better than us at Twitter. It's only about 36% of us in the US are using Twitter, but in UK it's about 39%. With all the information that's generated from these social media accounts, there are companies such as Axiom, Spokio, Social Intelligence. These are all data mining companies that have emerged to cull the information that's available publicly about individuals. Axiom alone has profiles on 500 million different people and processes 50 trillion data transactions per year. Spokio, you may have heard of recently, was the subject of an FTC, Federal Trade Commission, which is sort of the de facto DPA in the United States, was part of an enforcement action where their culling of information from social media, the FTC had determined was part of a consumer report where they had alleged all along that they were not, and so they ended up paying large civil penalties in that case. Social Intelligence, however, from the beginning said that they were pulling this information from social media for the purposes of putting together consumer reports, and the FTC gave them a pass. So social media, with over 500 transactions a year, is thrown into the category of big data. The World Economic Forum has even declared big data to be a new economic class, much like oil. It's valuable. There's no doubt about that. The use of this sort of data for employment issues is why we're talking today. Those issues are a little bit more prominent here in the EU, where laws generally favor protection of the employee and their privacy rights. In the UK, it is more established that an individual doesn't have to have an expectation of privacy for the law to protect them, whereas in the United States, it's on the flip side of the coin. The privacy issues in the employment space are very much weighted toward the employer. It is considered a property right for them to want to protect their work environment and to protect the resources, i.e. computers, emails, the infrastructure that provides access to social media is the more prominent protection in the United States. But of course, the United States is not a complete free-for-all of privacy. Julian and Richard here will describe some of the UK perspective, and I was going to describe more closely what's going on in the United States. In the United States, this is just a couple of different surveys that have been done that kind of analyze how many employers are really making use of social media in their hiring practices. You can see that it can be, ranging as high as 50% of employers, and you can see 91% of recruiting companies. So not only just employers, but other companies that are reaching out to applicants are making use of this type of information. Now, the reasons for using social media for hiring purposes, the #1 reason, which actually isn't even on that list, is that it's free. All this information is on the internet, publicly available. If the employer wants to go and take a look, they can. If they want to hire another company to do that in the United States, to cull through this information, they can. And there's an entire list of reasons why you would want to do that. One of them being verifying credentials and qualifications. A recent survey that was done of colleges and universities in the United States found that 60% of the verification requests that these universities have received have been falsified in some way. So companies need to make sure that people are not maybe elaborating on their educational experiences. The New York Times and the Department of Commerce came together on a joint collaboration to put together some statistics. They determined that 30% of small business failures in the United States were due to employee theft, and that the average organization in the United States loses about 6% a year of annual revenue to employee fraud. So, what are employers looking at when they're looking online? Most of them take a look at Facebook. For those of you who have Facebook accounts, beware. LinkedIn, of course, followed close behind, and then Twitter and other sources of social media. Some of the reasons that employers have given for not hiring someone, there's a whole slew of them here, different information that you can find out about a candidate. One of them here, candidate made discriminatory comments. Our firm actually represents a data mining company that uses facial recognition software to identify images of potential applicants on the internet. They are not necessarily tagged or have captioned with their information. And there was an example of one individual who, very far into the hiring process of a very high-level position at a company, they've discovered an image of him, at a party, having fun, posing with some pictures, but his white t-shirt showed just a little bit of a very large swastika tattoo on his arm, and the company chose not to hire. But in the United States, there are a few issues that need to be taken into consideration when making use of social media information. We are going to go through each of these in turn. The Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. It is an agency of the federal government in the United States whose sole purpose is to ensure that no discrimination or disparate impact results from companies' hiring policies. Specifically, they look at issues of race, religion, sex, national origin, age, disability, and genetic information. The EEOC just recently had a settlement with Pepsi Company. They had been using arrest information of individuals that they determined were unheavily weighted against African American candidates who had a larger number of arrest records in their criminal history. The EEOC has been very active in this past year. They have just issued guidance on the appropriate uses of criminal records, and they are preparing guidance on the use of credit information in the use of hiring purposes, and they are looking very carefully at social media. In the United States, criminal records and credit information generally can be reported for up to 7 years, but once something is on the internet that basically has no expiration date, it's there forever, and the EEOC is looking very carefully at how they should be considering that.